Let's Resin sent me this box of silicone putty to try. I was so excited to try it. I was so excited. I even read the directions. I have to admit, I don't always do that. Although you're supposed to weigh equal amounts of part A and part B, I don't have a scale, so I just measured out equal amounts in a little medicine cup and then worked the two parts together with my hands until a uniform blue color was achieved according to the directions. Where I made my first mistake was using a silicone mat to try my first press mold. And well, guess what? Silicone sticks to silicone. And I was left with a great big mess to clean up. Once I got the hang of it, it worked brilliantly. I loved working with it. It wasn't sticky at all and it left zero residue. This is not a video about what I did right. This is a video about what I did wrong. And that was not do enough research about what silicone putty is actually used for. It's great for press molds where you press the item into the mold. Your puppy's cute little nose. Don't do this. I'm not sure it's safe. Or maybe a shark tooth you found at the beach. You mix your putty and then you press your item in the putty to make an imprint. If I had done more research, I would have found out that silicone putty is not as flexible as a regular silicone mold. It's more like a hard rubber, which doesn't make it ideal as a casting mold. So not only are you going to have a hard time getting your original out of the mold, you're going to have a hard time getting your casted piece out of the mold. I had one piece crumble completely apart, and then I had so much trouble getting this one out of the silicone putty that I had to cut some of the cured putty away from it, and that just sort of mold separated down one side and an entire piece just sort of ripped away. But I was bound and determined to use these molds anyway and make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. I think that's the saying, a silk purse out of a sow's ear. Anyway, just keep watching. I had a very hard time demolding this casted piece, which is why this silicone putty is not recommended as a casting putty. It's not flexible, it's kind of a stiff plastic. So that's why I had a lot of cracking when I was demolding these pieces, because it just wasn't flexible enough to really pry it away from the molded piece. But I'm making the best of this situation and just, making something useful out of a broken piece, because somebody commented on one of my earlier videos that just because something is broken doesn't mean it's not useful. Now the casted pieces themselves actually turned out really well, and I am going to complete a bottle stopper. Why am I having a hard time saying that? Bottle stopper. So I'm taking my X-Acto knife with a sharp blade and then also my sanding block and just smoothing out the rough edges that you tend to get on really any kind of mold. Well, not all molds, but some molds, because I want the bottom to really fit smoothly and without any gaps on top of this, the stopper itself. So I want it to be nice and smooth and very flat. Then I used some E6000 to create a nice strong bond, and then I did take a clamp, woodworking clamp, just to clamp the two pieces together so they wouldn't move around while they're drying. And then I just set that one aside and moved on to the next one, which I am going to again trim and smooth just to make sure we have nice smooth edges. And this one was actually already sort of smooth, but I'm going to attach it onto the wooden bottle stopper, and I have links in the description below to my Amazon affiliate section, which will give you the details on the bottle stoppers and also the UV resin that I used. And this is, I'm using the Let's Resin UV resin and also the Let's Resin UV light that came in a kit. It was great for a beginner into UV resin. This kit was really great. It came with the light. It came with, I think, a couple of molds, and then also 2 bottles of the resin. So it was really a good deal. So do you see that I kind of have the molded piece sort of attached on sideways onto the bottle stopper? And I did that on purpose because what I'm doing here is just building the side of the shell out of glass pieces and a lot of UV resin and little bitty shells. And what I'm doing is I'm just kind of building onto in different layers with the shells and the glass and UV resin. I'm just building the back onto this shell, because what happened, this particular mold is the piece that just completely broke in half. So I was left with half a mold. And so when I poured the resin in, I only had half a mold. But I thought, you know what, I'm gonna make the best of it and just use pieces that I have to build the part of the mold that didn't mold. Does that make sense? So I'm just, I don't know, to me, this is what art is all about, is making the best of a situation and creating a beautiful piece of art anyway. And it really turned out well. And finally I was able to lay it sideways and not have to hold it. But I'm just creating different layers until I have the look that I want. And then the final touch, I think, was adding the little stone starfish, and I think I put a turtle on this one too, and turning it into something really unique that no one else at my craft show is going to have. So I really do think I'm going to put this into my booth at my next art and craft show, which is March 2nd and 3rd in Cocoa Village in Cocoa, Florida. It's a great little historic part of town that is really fun. I mean, it's open year round. It's actually a town. It's not just, you know, built for an art and craft show, but it's a really cool little place. It has a lot of great restaurants, a lot of great music, and a lot of neat little shops that you can go in and find really, really unique things. And while this one is finishing up in its tanning booth, I'm going to go ahead and finish up the second one. While I do think that the E6000 is strong enough to hold the mold onto the wine bottle stopper, I'm just adding UV resin right around the edge, if you can see there, the edge where the mold meets the bottle stopper. So just adding an extra bead, extra strength to just make sure everything is nice and secure. Both of these were a little bit dull when I took them out of the mold, so I just brought the shine back by putting on a thin layer of the UV resin and then setting them under the UV resin lamp for 2 full cycles, which each cycle is 60 seconds, so for 2 minutes under the UV resin lamp, and that brought the shine right back. This may not have been a perfect project, but I'm glad I didn't give up. I learned something new. I learned how to use and not use silicone putty. We'll definitely try it again. I'm not going to give up on it, but now I know how to use it and when to use it. So I hope this helped you. Bye, guys.